The Torah is holy and divine, but also relevant and timely. And there's a great example in this week's Parsha Ki Tisa. This learning is in the merit of my grandmother, Esther Bat Shaul. May her neshama have an aliyah. So something very famous happens in this week's Parsha. It is the sin of the golden calf, or Chet HaEgel. And the sin of the golden calf is when the Jewish people, after being freed from Egypt, are wandering through the desert. They are at the bottom of Har Sinai, at the bottom of Mount Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher, is up on the top of Mount Sinai, getting the oral Torah, how to practice Judaism from God according to our tradition, as well as the Ten Commandments, the full of the Ten Commandments. You know, he comes down famously with those, the luchot, the tablets, and the Jewish people are down at the bottom for 40 days. And they sort of mystifyingly lose faith immediately. They see that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain. The people gathered against Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god who shall go before us, for we do not know what has happened to Moses, the man who brought us from the land of Egypt." Aaron says, "Take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, your daughters, and bring them to me." This is mystifying. Aaron either he has already just been put as the Kohen Gadol, the head priest, the lead priest, the grand priest, or he's about to be. And this is the guy who's going to be the grand priest, the Kohen Gadol, this guy who's allowing the Jewish people to make this god, this idol. It's very mystifying. And so our commentaries tell us a few things. The first one is someone else tried to go up against the Jewish people, Hor, and Hor was killed by the Jewish people because he said, "No, you can't make this golden calf." So Aaron was like, "Not going to do that." Okay, on to the next. And then we also hear that, Aaron was doing everything. He was trying to delay them. He says, "Go to your sons and wives and daughters and tell them to take off their earrings to make this golden calf." It didn't actually take that long in the end. It didn't really delay them so much because Aaron was convinced that in just a few minutes, just a few moments, Moshe was going to come down from Har Sinai, but he didn't. Aaron tries to put them off. Aaron is doing what is called permissive parenting. Well, I don't know if it's exactly permissive parenting, but he's being too permissive. The characteristic about Aaron that we're always given is hu rodef shalom, hu ohev shalom, hu rodef shalom. He loved peace and chased after peace. That was Aaron's thing. He would sometimes tell a little white lie to someone if someone came to him and said, I'm in this dispute with person A. He tell person A, person B is actually really sorry, but he just doesn't have the koach, the strength to go and tell you. So you should tell him sorry, and then he tell the other person, person A, person B is really, 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 wants to forgive you, but he doesn't have the strength to. And then they go to each other, and everything would be fine. Okay, so we do a little white lie, fine. But he was pursuing peace. And that's what he's doing here. He's pursuing peace. And our commentaries make so many excuses for Aaron. I mean, I don't think it's a great showing for him, but he's still the Kohen Gadol. He's still the high priest. So here we are. This is what Aaron chooses to do. And then the second thing we have to wonder is the Jewish people have just experienced some incredibly nature-defying miracles. They saw the 10 plagues in Egypt. They were freed from Egypt, by the way, after hundreds of years, 200-something years of slavery in Egypt. They were freed from Egypt, saw the 10 plagues. They saw rivers of blood. They saw frogs jumping around. They saw beasts dying and the plague of darkness and all these things. They also saw the splitting of the sea, like God literally split the sea and they walked across dry land. Then they're walking through the desert and their food is the manna that falls from heaven. They have this pillar of cloud that follows them in the wilderness, that shields them from the heat. Their clothes never get ruined. They have a well that follows them around. I mean, they're living a miracle of a life. And yet none of this is enough to sustain them. What has happened? The Jewish people, because they had no sense of identity with so many years of being slaves, you don't control anything you do when you're a slave. You don't know when you eat. You don't get to choose when you sleep. You don't get to choose when you work. All these things. You had no agency as a slave. After so many years of being slaves, they just put their agency in Moshe. Moses is their leader, and they're like, Moses is the only guy. Moses is how we're gonna keep with it by this guy Moshe. Moshe then is gone for 40 days. So what do? They have become sheep. They really have done themselves a disservice because they were not secure in themselves. And what this reminds me of is we live in a world where any bit of information we want to know is accessible in your phone in an instant. We have so much information, and yet none of us know anything because there's no reason to. I mean, we should, but there's no reason to. You can look up anything you could possibly want to. The only exception to this is on Shabbat, on the 25 hours where we do not use our phones, our computers, electricity, all those things. Either you know something, or you look it up the old-fashioned way in a book, or you talk to a friend. It's this sort of beautiful palace in time, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel would describe it. Shabbat is this palace in time where we don't have access to all these things, where we can't really be a sheep because there's nowhere else to turn. We have to, look to ourselves internally. And then the other thing about Aaron is this permissive guy. He wants to have peace versus Moses, who is this sort of strict guy with boundaries. This is proof, again, Judaism loves moderation, that we have to be like Aaron in some ways, being kind and being peaceable and wanting to make peace with everyone. We also have to be like Moshe. We have to have boundaries. Moshe got to the bottom of the mountain, threw the tablets down. He was so horrified to see this golden calf. And can you blame him? It's horrifying. Moshe had high expectations for the Jewish people. We should have high expectations for ourselves. We should be kind to others, and we should try to know things without needing the internet. Shabbat shalom.